everybody, Lord Tremendous here, got a battle report here for you. This is Game 2 of the Lone Wolf GT 2018. Tis I, Lord Tremendous of the Varangar, versus Mike Dieter of the Elves. Yes, I got to face off on Elves after getting just trounced in my first game by the Demigod Valdez, which I'm okay with, actually. This is a lot of fun, and I get to take out all my deep-seated frustrations on Elves. Mike is a real cool guy, never met him before the day, and really fun. Just no complaints whatsoever about the guy. But you know what? Don't let me tell you that. Let's watch the battle report and see what happens. So sit back, relax, and get ready to see how it goes. Here's my list, and since it's a tournament, there will be no changes. I have a King and a Chimera with Brutal and the Fog, a Chieftain with Brutal, a Mount, and the Staying Stone, 2 butt-naked Scalds, because they're just there for inspiring, and a Devourer. Making up the bulk of my list is a Warband Horde with 2-handed weapons and a Crystal of Retribution, a Sons of Korgan regiment with Fury and a Blade of Slashing, another Sons of Korgan regiment with Fury and the Mace of Crushing, and 2 Tundra Wolf troops. The rest of my army consists of a mounted Sons of Korgan regiment with Fury, and a Dire Fang Rider Horde with Fury and the Brew of Haste. That's going to do it for my list. I'm going to post my opponent's list, play some music. Feel free to pause it whenever you like to see what he took. So the scenario for this round is the Lone Ranger, Lone Wolf. Basically, the hero of Texas, the Lone Ranger, has elected to join your cause. You can select either him or the Lone Wolf to fight alongside your army for free. I chose the Ranger, my opponent chose the Wolf. We both could have had the same, it just didn't work out that way. And the reason I chose the Ranger is because he's defense 6 instead of defense 5. He's a little bit slower than the Wolf, but defense 6, it's just, if you can get it, it's too good. My plan here was, if you look at the strategic objectives at the bottom there, at the end of the game, 300 victory points for having your Ranger in the enemy's deployment zone. I figure speed 6, I put him on the very far end of whatever flank is the most open, shoot him across the table, and he buys me 300 points if I can keep him alive at the end of the game. 250 for causing more damage. I figured, he's got 18-inch range. Maybe I'll be able to shoot something. If I can do some damage, maybe I can do more than his Wolf. We'll see. And then 250 points for keeping him alive. So if that all works out, if I can pull all that off, I'll be golden. And I'll be sitting on at least 550 points. So that was my goal. That's why I chose the Ranger. And that's the scenario for this round. Here's deployment, and when I looked across the table, the only thing that I was really worried about was the dragon on the far right side, which he placed last. So I have my dragon and my knights, my mounted sons anyway, all the way over to the right. His shamblers and his tree herder guy, they all have some sort of vanguard, so they moved up. That's perfectly fine. I have my Devourer and Scald right behind him, right next to my mounted sons. In the center, I've got my dogs backed up by infantry sons. The Warband is in dead middle because their job is to get across the table and beat up his Horde bricks until they explode or just soak up shots. He knows the crystal is there. He's got a copy of my list, so I don't have any surprises. Next to them is another unit of sons. Next to them is a unit of dogs and Scald behind them for inspiring. And then I've got my Dire Fang and my Chieftain on the far left side. The Chieftain's job is to get into the bolt throwers. The Dire Fang's job is to force him to split up his center. Because if not, I'm going to get some sweet flank charges across the table. And I'm okay with that. But really, that was my plan. They're elves. I want them dead. Win, lose, or draw. I need to get through them. The right flank is going to be tough, but I already own the left flank. And if you look, it's kind of hard to see. It's a darker picture. On the very far side there's my ranger, and he's got free reign to shoot right down the middle. Or right down the board edge anyway. And that's exciting. So That's why I deployed like this, and you know what? Let's get into turn one. Here we are, top of one after movement, and I'm not afraid of elves. I'm just not. It's probably because I'm crazy racist. So everything that's facing off against the elves shoots forward pretty much its max movement, unless I hit a forest and I can't. Left to center, right center there, everything shoots up. The Devourer holds off at the tree line. I just wanted to be in the trees so I could see through them so I could charge if I needed to. The Dragon and the Mounted Sons move up so that they're in charge range next turn, but he's not. The hope there is that he moves forward and gives me the charge. I know his Dragon is back there. I know his Drakon Riders are back there. But if I can concentrate them all over on the right side, even if he wipes me, I should be able to get enough stuff across the table and into the rest of his army that I can win this game. It is a kill point scenario, so that's what I'm hoping for. And that's it for movement. Nothing else happens on my turn, so here's bottom of one after movement. And he does. I mean, they're elves. They move. His Shambler guys or whatever, they start running around, getting into different positions. He's going to sacrifice one and so that the other two can countercharge, which I'm not super worried about, I got to be honest. But his wolf, if you look at the Brotherhood Knight up top there, that's his wolf. That's his lone wolf. And he moved him in such a way that I might be able to goad him into letting my dragon charge. And if that's the case, that would be wonderful. I'd be able to kill his guy, deny him points, give myself points, and I think 250. So essentially, by denying him 250 points and keeping my guy alive until the end of the game for 250, that's a 500-point swing. So that's kind of what I'm starting to lean towards now on the right flank. Damn everything else. There's Drakon Riders come flying over to threaten the center. He's looking at flanks and stuff like that. That's smart. I can't fault him for that one at all. His Cav of some sort right there, they move forward to bait me in, and I'm going to take the bait. You're out of your mind to think otherwise. His infantry on the left side there move around a little bit in order to do the same thing and try to protect his archers, and as far as I can tell, that's it for his movement. Oh, I'm sorry. Dragon on the right flank there. It's hard to see, but the dragon shoots all the way down the right flank 20 inches to start threatening my dragon and my knights, which is smart, and that is it for his movement. We go into the Pansy phase, and his bolt throwers fire at my Dire Fang, doing 3 wounds to him. Again, not super concerned about his war machines or anything like that, but I don't want him getting free pot shots at me the whole time. Plus, if my chieftain can get into him, which he's going to be able to next turn, they're easy points. But my Dire Fang take 3 wounds, and they're perfectly fine. His archers and his knights and stuff like that, and his mage go next. I think his mage fireballs me. His archers obviously shoot their arrows, and I can't remember if his cav has anything or not. But they all fire at my warband because he's worried about the crystal, which is really smart. And he puts 9 wounds on him, which was a lot more than I was expecting to take. Very well done by my opponent. I don't even waver, so I'm okay, but 9 wounds in the first round of shooting is bad. I need to get these guys into combat fast, or they're just going to be completely wasted. That brings us over to the top of 2 after movement, and we go in. Right flank there, as you can see, the Knights and the Devourer go into the Shamblers. I know it's bait. I know he wants to give it up. I know he's going to countercharge me. Bring it the F on. I think I threw him for a little bit of a shock here. My dogs charged his Drakon Riders, and I did this because, number 1, I don't think he saw it, and number 2, I need to do a wound to them to stop them from flying so they can't countercharge my Devourer in the flank and kill it. So if the dogs get in there and do a solid wound, yes, they're dead next turn. That's totally true. But that gives it the Devourer and the Mounted Sons and the Dragon time to deal with the right flank stuff. His Dragon Rider is out of position, so I should be able to deal with the right flank before the Drakon Riders can finish off the dogs and fly back over and pose a threat to me at all. So I think I did this right. We'll see. Well, I already know. I guess you'll see. Turns out both the Sons and the Warband were out of range to the cavalry, so I just marched them up. The Sons marched up 10, and the Warband moved up to the obstacle in order to give them some cover next turn, and to charge next turn if they're still alive, so that's exciting. It's a little hard to see, but on the top left there, my Chieftain charged into the left bolt thrower, and the Dire Fang charged into his infantry. What kind of infantry, I don't remember. My dog, Scald, and other Sons of Korgan infantry go into the forest, and the Lone Ranger does another 12 inches towards his table edge. I want those points, and he seems to be ignoring the Lone Ranger right now, which is excellent, but that's it for my movement. During the pansy phase, I actually use my King and a Chimera's breath attack, which I almost never get to use. He fires it off at the tree herder and does 2 wounds to him. Needless to say, tree herder's totally fine. Then we jump into combat, and I start with the Mounted Sons and the Devourer into his Shamblers, and I end up doing 14 solid wounds to his unit. That was excellent. The Sons really knocked it out of the park, but the Devourer did his fair share too. I think 6 of those were from the Devourer. So I really can't complain about either unit right now. I was very happy to see that. I route them cold, and what I end up doing is my Devourer comes up, I think 4 or 5 inches, and my mounted cav, I was hoping to back them up 2 or 3, they only went back 1. But I did that so that my opponent would go after Devourer, and that way my Knights and my Dragon could countercharge next turn. As it sits, my Knights are probably going to get charged, but that was the plan, that's why I did it like this. My Tundra Wolves go next, and I'm so proud of them. 3 wounds done to the Drakon Riders. I could not believe how well they hit, and they were hindered. They went through the forest. They were hitting on 5s. 3 wounds. Couldn't be prouder, the little bastards. 3 wounds wasn't enough to do anything, and it's perfectly reasonable, so I back off an inch, but they're not flying, they've lost Nimble, and my right flank is secure for the moment. My Dire Fang go next into his infantry, which were mostly naked, I guess, because I think I do like 18 wounds. Upwards of 18 wounds to these guys. It's, well, it's glorious. I mean, let's face it. I like pulling the wings off of elves, and they did. I'm sorry, 13 wounds to his infantry. And, you know what? That's excellent. That's really, really excellent. The elves rout and are killed subsequently, and I move forward. I think 3 inches here, 2-3 inches. Not ton. My guys really aren't big on cardio, but I'm just trying to put more pressure on the center, trying to break up his stuff, trying to make him make some bad moves so that I can capitalize on those and win the game. My Chieftain Elizabeth is up next, and she does 4 out of 5 wounds to the Bolt Thrower. I couldn't have been more pleased. That is her job. That is exactly why I have her in this list, to mess up war machines and targets of opportunity, and she really knocked it out of the park here. It was enough. 3 wounds is enough. I rolled high enough that he actually routed, and she turns to face the next Bolt Thrower. We're going to clean him up. Really, really solid first round of combat for the Varangar. I couldn't have been happier. That's all I could do in the combat phase, so here's bottom of 2 after movement, and the elves aren't out yet. Don't even think that this guy's a quitter, because he came at me hard as nails. He is, on the left flank there, his infantry charged into my Dire Fang, which were smart. His Drakon Riders countercharge the dogs, which was the only option he had. His Tree Herder charges the Devourer, and then the other Shamblers charge the Mounted Sons. The Lone Wolf moves towards the fight. He tells me later, he didn't see that that my Dragon could see and would charge his Lone Wolf, and I was excited when I saw that, because, like I said, 500-point swing. I was really, really looking forward to that. His archers and his mage stay put, and so do his little his cavalry guys in the middle there, and that's it for his movement. We go into the pansy phase, and he unloads with his mage and his archers into my warband and does another 9 wounds to him. His consistency is terrifying. 18 wounds to this unit. That is enough to break them, and that's what I'm worried about. Well played, Mr. Dieter, because the warband routes, they're gone. All those points and the crystal completely wasted because he was smart enough to focus fire on them. Damn it. Damn it. That is super rare that happens. That unit usually always does something good in my games. So, gotta give it to my opponent on this one. That was a smart move. Continuing on in the pansy phase, his dragon breathes hot death on my dragon, doing 2 wounds to him, which seems to be the maximum amount of wounds that dragons can do in the pansy phase. Not really sure what's going on there, but yeah, 2 wounds is what it is. And that brings us to combat. His Shamblers attack my Mounted Sons, doing 5 wounds to him, which, honestly, not a bad roll at all, but he rolled out of the box twice in order to rout them, and he ends up wavering the unit. Now, they have Fury, so it's not a big deal, but the fact that he wavered them, rolled high enough to waver them, is impressive, because he needed an 11 to do it, and he did it twice. Give the man credit. In the next combat, his Tree Herder guy does 4 wounds to my Devourer, which again is respectable, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be okay here. I am. I'm perfectly fine. And the tree herder backs off an inch and prepares for the countercharge, which is coming. In this combat against the Tundra Wolves that did amazing against the Drakon Riders last turn, he does 6 wounds to him, which, not great. It's probably going to be enough to break him. Sure as hell it is, and the dogs break. But they did great. They held the Drakon Riders there. They did their job. I couldn't have been happier with the way that worked out. And the final combat of this turn, his infantry do 3 more wounds to my Dire Fangs, bringing their total up to 6, but they're perfectly fine. He doesn't so much as waver them, which wouldn't matter either because they got Fury, but my point is, I get to kill more elves next turn, and I'm really excited. That's it for his turn, so here's top of 3 after movement, and I counter charge. On the right flank there, my King and a Chimera goes into his Lone Wolf, because I want to take that little bastard out. My Mounted Sons countercharge the Shamblers, the Devourer countercharges the Tree Herder, Infantry charges Cavalry, and on the left flank there, my Dire Fangs countercharges Infantry, and my Chieftain goes back into the Bolt Thrower. The Lone Wolf moves over a little bit, just because I'd like to get him into this fight, get some damage off, so I could get the rest of those points, but I can't see anything, so I just kind of put him at the edge there. I don't want to get him too close. I would hate to get charged or something like that. So I just kind of move him a little bit closer to the edge of that terrain piece right there and call it good. My sons and other set of dogs and the Scald on the left flank there, they continue moving through the forest because really I don't have anywhere to put them right now. And that's it for movement. Really don't have anything to do in the pansy phase, so we go straight into combat, and we start off with Elizabeth. And she, a little tired from the first combat, I guess, is only able to do 2 wounds at a bolt thrower. It's fine, it can't shoot next turn, so that's something, but I would like to see 3 or 4, because I'm greedy. The bolt thrower sticks, and so we go to this combat. The Dire Fang do 10 wounds to his infantry. They're really kicking some ass this game. I guess they heard me talking all that trash about him last game. 10 wounds and a nerve check is enough to rout that unit, and I push forward d6 inches, which puts me an inch away from his army standard. It's not going to be enough to run into anything next turn other than a small character, but you know what, I'll keep nickel and diming him until there's no elves left. Win or lose, I've killed elves, so I feel like I've won. In this combat against his cavalry, I'm able to do 10 wounds here as well, which I'm rolling real good all of a sudden. You know what it is? My deep-seated racism for elves is coming out in the rage of my dice. These guys are hindered too because I'm on top of the obstacle. I had to go through it either way. And so I'm hitting on 4s, which isn't terrible, and they still did 10 wounds. I'm very proud. The elves die the death that they deserve to die, and yeah, I just, yay! I actually keep the unit just like that because the Drakon Riders are right there, and if his elves charge me in the flank, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. My Devourer attacks next, and he only does 3 wounds to the Tree Herder, which isn't great. It brings his total up to 5. Really, really wish I had done a little bit better than that, you know? But I guess 3 is as good as it's going to get. His Herder is perfectly fine. I back off an inch, and I look over at the Drakon Riders and go, well, it's been real, guys. What can you do? My King and a Chimera goes next, and I'm able to do 7 wounds to the Lone Wolf, which, considering he's only a 13-15, not terrible. I might be able to break this guy, because I do have Brutal on this guy. So, if I get rid of his Lone Wolf, there's that swing I was looking for. It works out beautifully. I'm able to kill his dog off, and I turn to face the direction I'm looking. I figure I'll countercharge Drakon Riders after they mutilate my Devourer. Is what it is. Against the Shamblers, I do 7 more wounds to him, which is the hotness. I can't complain about that at all. But then the dice gods kind of turn on me a little bit. I wasn't able to roll high enough to so much as waver this unit. Not that I think they can be wavered. I think they're fearless. But either way, it is what it is. I back off an inch, and now I'm probably going to catch a dragon to the flank. Kinda sucks. I might have gotten outplayed on the right flank here. So here's bottom of 3 after movement, and yes, the right flank is starting to look kind of ugly. His dragon charges into the flank of my mounted sons. The Shamblers countercharge him as well. The Tree Herder countercharges the Devourer, but the Drakon Riders kind of throw me for a loop. They back off so that my dragon can't charge them. Very surprised by that, I won't lie. I thought he had my Devourer. I thought he was going to eat me alive. I guess his reasoning was the dragon is going to smoke the Suns, and then he can get the Devourer later, so there's no reason to put his Drakon Riders in any kind of danger. But I don't know. I mean, I would have gone after the Devourer, but I'm bad at this game, so let's see how it works out. in the center there, his what's it called? His shooty elves, they back off a little bit, change their facing so that they're looking at the riders. So basically, the riders can't kill the army standard and then overrun D6 inches into them, which isn't a bad idea. His mage moves forward to stay out of their charge arc and put a little damage down on something. And that is about it for his movement. During the pansy phase, his archers and his mage fire everything they have into my Direfang and bring them up to 10 wounds. It's not enough to hurt them. Well, it's not enough to waver or rout them, but I'm starting to get close now, and I'm like, better start getting as many points out of the Direfang as I can, because they're not going to survive this game. But, yeah, that elven shooting is rough. We jump into combat, and honestly, he did not roll great in this combat. Not that it mattered, because he did 14 more wounds to an already wounded unit, bringing their total up to 19. Not sexy. Not sexy at all. Well, maybe if you're an elf, but if you're a Varangard, no, not sexy at all. My unit routes, and that's not a surprise at all. In fact, I don't even think my dragon was close enough for inspiring. I'm not 100% on that. Doesn't really matter. His Shamblers turn to face the dragon and the Devourer, and his dragon continues to look towards the center of the table, because I think he's getting ready to put him back into the fight. Damn, my sons were doing pretty good, too. The Tree Herder in his combat puts 4 more wounds on my Devourer and is able to waver him. Can't make him re-roll it or anything like that, and he does not have Fury. So my Devourer is dead, and at this point I realize the right flank is gone. It's time to get my King on a Chimera the hell out of there. That brings us top of 4 after movement, and I think about running away with my dragon, and then I decide I want the Shamblers. They've got 7 wounds on them. If I don't do something about them now, the Devourer is definitely dead. Maybe I can drag the Drakon Riders over? I don't know. So the dragon, I end up charging the Shamblers. I already got 7 wounds on him. There's a good chance I can take them out. In the middle of the table there, the Suns, I can see the flank of the archers. I don't think my opponent saw that, so I charge into their flank. I mean, we're looking at 40 attacks. Hindered, but 40 attacks into his archers. I'm pretty sure they're dead. My other Sons are in range. They charge his mage. The Direfang charges army standard, and the chieftain charges his bolt thrower. The dogs and the Skald on the left center there, they come forward a little bit just to watch. The Lone Ranger guy, he goes into the lava pit just to watch, and he was cold. And that is it for my movement. So we go right into combat because I don't do the pansy phase. And I start off with the chieftain, and she's able to do 4 more wounds to the bolt thrower, bringing it up to a total of 6, I believe. That is enough to finish off the bolt thrower, and she overruns like an inch or 2, not very far, but I'm pleased. Direfang are up next, and they are able to put 6, 12, 14 wounds onto the army standard, which is good. Elves should die brutal deaths. He splits into many pieces, and we overrun, I think, 4 or 5 inches. I think it's a solid overrun on this one. Just try to put more pressure on the center. In the combat against his mage, my Sons of Korgan are able to do 12 wounds to her, which is just awesome. Well, you know, we don't discriminate. Guy, girl, if it's an elf, we're going to try to eviscerate it. Which we do, impressively. And so I just changed the facing of this unit towards the right flank center, because I know I'm losing my right flank, and I need to get some more stuff over there to support him. So I'm going to send that unit, the dogs, and the Skald behind him. This combat over here, I'm actually very disappointed about. I am hindered, I'll grant you that, but I'm hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s. And with 40 attacks, I do 11 wounds. Well below the power curve there. That hurt a lot. That hurt a lot, especially against a Horde Brick. That would have basically solidified my control of the left and center of the table. Really needed this one to go down. Thought it was a sure thing, and I do 11 wounds. Not thrilled with this unit right now. They're not so much as wavered, and I have to back off an inch, basically exposing my flank to the Drakon Riders. Oh, it's disgusting. The last combat is my King and a Chimera against the Shamblers, and I just blow it out of water. I do like all 10 wounds, 9 or 10 wounds, and my nerve check against him isn't difficult at all. They break, and I stay right where I'm at because I'm not quite ready to leave this area yet. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen next turn. That's it for my turn, so here's bottom of 4 after movement, and his dragon goes into the flank of my Devourer, and his Tree Herder also charges my Devourer. Knew it was coming, and it's heartbreaking. His Drakon Riders charge the flank of my Failure Sons. His Horde Brick of Archers charge into my Direfang, which are already hurting pretty bad, and I think that's everything he has, so that's it for movement. Nothing to do in the Pansy phase, we go straight into combat, and his archers attack my Direfang, putting 3 more wounds onto him, which, I mean, they're piddly little archers or whatever. That's not but that's actually pretty good for piddly archers into some Direfang. And at 13 wounds, he only needs a 3, 4, 5 to break him. That's kind of... He does it. He routs him, and the Direfang are gone. That archer unit is responsible for the death of the Direfang and the Warband. That is a much more dangerous unit than I gave it credit for. The Drakon Riders over here, they do like 20-something wounds to the Sons of Korgan. It's not even close. They rout, and I'm actually glad. After the piss-poor performance that they had against the Archers, it's not a surprise they were able to eat them alive. Those guys were not Sons of Korgan, they were sons of bitches. And then my poor Devourer, he takes 17 wounds on top of the 8 he was already carrying. What is that, like 25 or something? It's bad. It's all bad. His wings got ripped off. His tentacles are gone. It's sad. He routs and dies, and a little bit of me goes with him. Poor bastard. We go over here to top 5 after that, and I'm not out of this fight yet, but I'm out of the fight. So my dragon, my King of the Chimera, he's height 4. The trees for this game are height 5. So I move him and fly him over 10 inches to breathe hot death on the Drakon Riders. I've got the forest in a way enough so that his dragon can't draw a line of sight to my Chimera, so he can't charge me, which is excellent. My dogs and my chieftain go into, and my Scald go into his archer horde, because why not? The Sons that they originally moved to chase after the right flank stuff switches gears and starts going after the Drakon Riders with the Scald right behind him, and I leave the Lone Ranger where he's at because honestly, he's not going to do anything this game, and I don't want to get him killed. That's it for movement. In the Pansy phase, because it's the Pansy phase, my King of the Chimera uses Breath Weapon on the Drakon Riders and does a single wound to them, bringing their total to 4. Are you surprised they didn't so much as giggle at that? I'm not. I hate the Pansy phase. We jump into the only combat of the turn, and my dogs, my chieftain, and my Scald, I roll poorly. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. He goes up to 15 wounds, which means I only did 4 more, but it's enough to waver the unit. So I guess, you know, it's a sort of win. I'll take it. I'll take it. Maybe I can get him next turn. Nothing else happens in my turn, so here's bottom of 5 after movement, and the only thing that occurs is his, what's it called? Thing. His Horde Brick of Archers back up, because they're wavered, they can back up or change facing or halt. That's it. So they back up a little bit, and that's pretty much all they do. The Drakon Riders move in such a way that I can charge him with the dragon, I guess, or my king, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. A lot of ifs. You know, if I charge them, I'm going to get them, but then I got to deal with the counter charge from the dragon and the tree herder. The dragon and tree herder come up behind my king and a chimera, but they don't charge him, and they're just going to breathe hot death on him, and that's it for his movement. In his pansy phase, he does breath weapon attack my king, but he doesn't do anything, and that pretty much ends his turn. Which takes us to turn 6. Yay! So, my sons, my other unit of Sons of Korgan, they charge into the Drakon Riders because I can't pass that up. The, what's it called? The chieftain and the Tundra Wolves charge back into the Horde Brick of Elves. I don't charge a Scald back in because honestly I don't think I think about it. I mean, he's just a single model and I'm kind of bad at this game. I do take my Lone Ranger and move him 6 inches towards the board edge. I want to make sure he's in the deployment zone, and then I run away with my dragon. I move him 1 pivot, and then I go, I think, like 14, 15 inches away so that the Shambler and the dragon aren't in I'm not in their charge arc anymore, so they can't come after me. That is it for my movement. We jump straight into combat, and the chieftain dog combo is enough to finish off the archers. I think I do another 4 or 5 wounds, bringing up to 19 or 20, which, you know, even for a Horde Brick, that's enough. I rolled average, and they're gone. And That unit was probably the scariest unit he had. They did the most damage to me. I changed to facing those two units like so, and that's it for that combat. In this combat, even hindered, the Suns do 8 wounds, which is tremendous. See what I did there? And then I rolled pretty high. The Drakon Riders rout, and the Sons of Korgan turn around to face the Dragon Tree Herder combo charge. That is very possibly coming their way next turn. But still, they got some points. They were able to defeat that unit, and I'm pleased with this unit. The other one, not so much. That's it for my turn, so here's bottom of 6 after movement, and as we all expected, his Dragon and Tree Herder charge into my Sons of Korgan, which probably spells the end for them. It's just, that's going to be a lot of attacks, some high armor-piercing attacks that are just going to suck. So, but that's it. That is it for his movement. We jump straight into combat because that's all that's left, and the combo from both of them does 9 wounds to the unit. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. They should be able to survive this. Needing a 9+ twice, he did it. He rolled a 10 and a 9 and broke the Suns. Oh my god, we were beating the crap out of each other. And you know what? You got to respect the guy. He never gave up. He continued to fight the whole time, and it's really starting to pay off. We roll to see if the game ends, and it obviously does not. So here's top of 7 after movement. And my dragon just kind of moves over a little bit. I do not want to be charged by anything because I just don't trust the way the dice gods are playing with my emotions right now. But I send in the dogs and the Scald into his tree herder just because why not? The chieftain moves up to try to do some damage to the dragon if he's lucky enough to actually get that charge. Not that he will because there won't be a turn 8. And that is it for my movement. In the combat phase, I'm able to do 2 wounds to him, which, considering it's Tundra Wolves and a Scald, is flippin' amazing. So that brings his total up to 7, which leaves him perfectly fine. I mean, I just couldn't roll high enough on the nerve check, and we back off an inch. Really gotta hope he flubs next roll, or I'm about to give him another 100 or so points. There's bottom of 7 right there. His Tree Herder countercharges my dogs, and his dragon turns around to breathe hot death on my 1 remaining Scald that's not... Well, my second Scald that's exposed out in the open like that. And that's it for his movement. In the Pansy phase, his dragon breathes hot death onto my Scald, doing 3 more wounds to him, which made me nervous, but he passes his nerve check with flying colors, so we're good, I'm not giving up 60 more points. We go right into combat after that, and he does 6 wounds with his Tree Herder into my Tundra Wolves. That sucks. He's got to do it twice, but it's not a high roll. He ends up rolling a 5, which makes the total 11, which means that they're just wavered. Thank all the Dark Gods. Holy crap. It's only 110 points, but this game is so close right now. That could make or break the difference between a draw and a loss. So, honestly, I'm thinking I'm sitting at a draw. But there it is, there's the end of the game, and holy sweet lord, there's like nothing left on the table. I've got my king on a chimera, he's got his dragon, I've got my chieftain on a mount, he's got his tree herder, and then I've got 2 Scalds and some dogs, with my lone ranger in the back left there in his deployment zone doing whatever it is that he's doing. Holy crap, was this a close game. And I was thrilled. This was a great game, especially coming off of getting tabled last turn. This was a nail-biter, and these are the best games. These are the absolute best games. I love these particular games when they're really, really close like that. And, yeah, I'm excited to get to the recap. So, you know what? This game is over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
So here are the results from this, alright? I got 1,710 points out of him. He got 1,520 points out of me, which is less than 200 point difference, okay? So this is a draw. However, thanks to the scenario, I got 300 points for having my Lone Ranger in my enemy's deployment zone, and I got 250 points for keeping my Lone Ranger alive. I didn't get to 250 victory points for the Lone Ranger causing more damage than his because I didn't do any damage and neither did he, so we were even. So the 550 point swing is what brought me up to a 740 point difference which is what ended up doing a 14-6 victory for me, as opposed to a 10-10 draw. It was the 550 points. I played the objective and it paid off, which I almost never do. I honestly don't know what happened or who I am right now. So yes, this was a draw game. This was a hard-fought draw with 190 points, 180 points between us, something like that. And because of the objective, because of the Lone Ranger, I got another 550 points, bringing it up to a 14-6 victory. Holy crap. Let's go ahead and get this out there right now. Everybody that saw this battle report knows I eked out this win. It was stupid luck. The Lone Ranger dude did nothing but secured the victory for me. So I guess he was well used. Getting his wolf early cinched this victory for me, though. I mean, simple as that. Getting a hold of his wolf was what actually pushed this into a victory. His dragon had my number otherwise. That's why mine had to run from it. Oh man, I had no answer for that thing. And yeah, I just got lucky I was able to stay out of its charge arc. So, wow. Wow, what a crazy game to go into right after getting tabled in game one. Wow. My Sons of Korgan, the infantry unit, failing to rout the archers that they charged in the flank almost cost me this game. It did definitely cost me the victory if it wasn't for the objective, because it would have been a draw. That really, really sucked. The Dire Fang did a lot of work this game. I'm still toying with cutting them from the list, but this game they really shined, and I was happy to see that. Loving the Mounted Chieftain. Elizabeth is stupid dangerous and just really, really useful. And I still love my king, the model, the unit, the rules for him, and everything like that. But he spent like half this game running away from stuff, so... But still, that was, in a way, securing me like 350 points. So... I guess it was well utilized? I don't know. But regardless of outcome, this was an incredibly fun game. It was difficult, my opponent was sharp, and honestly, in the end, it was a scenario. I got lucky that I was smart enough to have my Lone Wolf guy way over there. Plus, I got to kill elves! Always awesome! My opponent was awesome. Mike Dieter is a very, very cool dude. The entire game, he was just mellow as hell. He was like, whatever, I'm here to have fun. I paid my money to play 5 games against people I wouldn't normally see, and I love that attitude at a tournament. You know, the win-at-all-cost players, I get it, it's a tournament, and by all means, you know, come to win. But when you're a poor sport or just a shitty person because things aren't going your way or things are going your way, it kind of dilutes the whole thing. And this guy was nothing like that at all. Badass guy. This is the kind of guy you would hang out with on the weekend. You know, you'd look forward to it. So if you ever get a chance to go up against Mr. Dieter, I highly, highly recommend it because he's awesome. And his list is rock hard. Solid. Ooh, sorry. Anyway, I would happily welcome a rematch from this guy anytime. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Battle Report number 21 is officially in history books. Game 2 of the Lone Wolf. I'm sitting at 14 battle points total. 2 games, 14 battle points. Not doing great, but I'm having a ton of fun. So much fun. If you get a chance to go to a GT, especially the Lone Wolf, I cannot recommend it enough because it's just an absolute blast. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. But as always, thanks.